Nigger run, nigger flew, nigger tore his shirt in two. Run, run, a patty roll, look at you. Run, nigger, run, well, you better get away.
This song, which comes from 12 Years a Slave, was used by masters to rise morale and keep African slaves working in rhythm. 12 Years a Slave is a memorial and slave narrative by African Americans.
Suleiman was a middle-class man with a wife and 2 children whom he loved very much. However, after he met Brown and Hamilton, 2 men who pretended to offer Northrop a performance opportunity in Washington, D.C., but actually kidnapped him and sold him as a slave, his life was devastated and totally changed. Initially, he was sold to a plantation owner, William Ford. Northrop impressed Ford when he engineered a waterway as a means of transportation. Therefore, Ford gave him a violin in gratitude. Nonetheless, Ford's carpenter John Tybitz resented Northrop and was jealous of Northrop's talents. Tybitz attacked Northrop, but Northrop overpowered him and beat him up. In order to protect Northrop from Tybitz's assaults, Ford chose to sell him to another planter, Edwin Epps. Unfortunately, Epps was a brutal slaveholder who treated slaves as his own property. Epps cruelly stripped and punished his slaves if they failed to pick up at least 200 pounds of cotton every day. Moreover, Epps sexually assaulted one of the female slaves named Patsy several times. Suffering from humiliation, Patsy begged Northrop to kill her, but he refused. He once attempted to use the money he had to pay a white field hand and a former overseer, Armsby, to mail a letter to Northrop's friends in New York State to rescue himself. But this white man betrayed him and confessed everything to Epps. So Northrop tearfully burned the letter, his only hope of freedom, and he was hung on a tree under the melting sun without water and food as a punishment of his disloyalty. Afterwards, he buried his hope in his heart, obeyed his master, and laboriously worked as a Negro slave until he met Bass. A Canadian laborer worked with him. While he was working, Bass was unsettled by the brutal way that Epps treated his slaves and expressed his opposition to slavery.
This conversation concerns what is factual and what is not. Then it must be said that there is no justice nor righteousness in this slavery. But you do open up an interesting question. What right have you to your niggas when you come down to the point?
What right? I bought them. I paid for them.
Of course you did, and the law says you have the right to hold a nigger. But begging the law's pardon, it lies. Suppose they pass a law, taking away your liberty, making you a slave. Suppose.
That ain't a supposable case.
Laws change, Epps. Universal truths are constant. It is a fact, a plain and simple fact, that what is true and right is true and right for all. White and black alike.
Earning Epps' aversion. Once again, Northrop asked for help in getting a letter to Saratoga Springs. Bass, a compassionate man, risking his life, agreed to send it. After being enslaved for 12 years, Northrop finally regained his freedom and was reunited with his family.
What made Solomon Northup an important figure in American history was not only his experience, but also his devotion to abolition. After he regained his freedom and returned to the North, he did not enjoy the easy life. Instead, as a victim of slavery, he dedicated himself to spreading information about what slaves had to endure and how they were being treated unequally. In his first year of freedom, Northup wrote and published a memorial, 12 Years a Slave, and gave more than 2 dozen speeches throughout the Northeast about his experience. What if Northup had not told others his story? Many people in the Northeast would not have such a vivid impression about what the substance slaves were experiencing. Therefore, it was people like Nosip that promoted equality and rescued thousands of slaves. At the end of our digital storytelling, I want to ask our listeners a question which is actually a quote from 12 Years a Slave. What difference is there in the color of the soul? Thanks for listening.